Do you like Thunder Crash? Do you like make big punch and make enemy cry? Do you like Crayola crayons assorted classic colors 24 pack? How feel when say word boom? Do sometimes forget objective but remember punch? Okay, good. These are introductory questions to make sure this is a Titan player watching this video. Okay, I see. Based on the answers you provided, we should be able to make this build work for you with only minor stress to the left part of your brain. Anyway, look, most Titan builds these days are pretty much melee, melee, get super, melee, melee, kaboom, room cleared. We need something else. We need to break from these ethereal chains and crayon eating mindset. This is exactly why I decided to make this build, because I'm just bored of casual Titan gameplay loop being that simple. I wanted to make something that makes you think at least a little bit. I know this is going to be difficult after playing Inmost Light plus Synthoceps combo for the whole episode and have little to none neuron activation, but just bear with me a little bit. And yes, I know someone has probably made this build already some time ago, but as I was recording footage for this video, I realized there's actually one more alternative to this build if you want to have those juicy double perks from exotic class items. So I will show you that in the end of the video as well. But I will prioritize the more simple but more effective version of it, which I thought of initially. First of all, get yourself a piece of Ursa Furiosa with decent stats and a void weapon, preferably with Demolitionist perk. We will need this because we'll be using the most underused aspect on Titan, which is Unbreakable. Oh, just you wait until you see the utility it provides. Now you can probably already see the synergy between these two. And at this point, all you need to do is hold your grenade button when you see hella lot enemies in front of you and wait for the little bar on the left side to fill up to do maximum possible damage and get the most or all of the grenade back. Now this does alright damage to regular adds and struggles a little bit against champions, but doing damage with your grenade is only a small part of this build. The main point of it is to provide the best possible utility for your team, and that is damage increase for your teammates, as well as protection and extended super usage for all of that. For this version, we are using Void subclass, and obviously the super I chose for this is Sentinel Shield, which lets you summon a frontal barrier which blocks all of the incoming damage. It gives your teammates a staggering 40% damage buff if they shoot through it. But not just that, when you're guarding your allies, it makes the shield last longer. Now since we're using Ursa Furiosa, we are getting up to 50% of our super back. Oh, and trust me, right after your super ends, give it like 20 seconds, you'll have another one. Okay, let's get to the other aspect for once. Now in this situation you can choose whatever you want because both work equally good. Controlled Demolition will make all your enemies volatile and give health back as you make the targets explode, which is really good in itself because you'll be doing that all the time anyway. The other one would be Offensive Bulwark, which does work a little better with the Void Bubble super, but even with the current setup it can work wonders. It says while you have an overshield, which we have all the time with this build, or are inside Ward of Dawn, your grenade recharges significantly faster. It also gives extra melee range, damage, and final blows with it extend your overshield. Well, you also get an additional shield throw when you're in your super. So the grenade regeneration is really what we're looking for with this aspect. I went with Controlled Demolition, but to be really honest with you, I have not yet decided which works better for me because they're both equally good. Now, as I mentioned, you kinda need a void weapon for this build. I chose VS Velocity Baton from Vesper's Host Dungeon. If you manage to get this gun, this build will work so much better because it can roll Demolitionist with attrition orbs. Plus you can shoot the gun and leave it do what it does best, generating tons of orbs and grenade energy, which is exactly what we need for this. If you do not have this roll, you can of course try getting it, but it might be a pain in the ass, or just see if you have any other void guns that have at least Demolitionist. Now let's get to the fragments. First of all, Echo of Instability. Defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. This is kind of an obvious one because we're using our grenade all the time, literally. Plus, as I mentioned already, you should have a void weapon equipped for this build. This will give you 11 seconds of volatile rounds for your void weapons. I do understand that there are seasonal artifact perks that already give you volatile, but next episode they won't be there, so this is just a safe route to make sure it works next season too. Echo of Reprisal. Final blows when surrounded by combatants grant super energy. Simple. We are going to be in the middle of all the enemies with this build anyway, so just watch how much super energy this gives me from this aspect alone. You might exchange other fragments to something else, but if you are going to be using this build, keep this one for sure. Echo of Cessation. Finish your final blows create a burst of void damage that causes nearby combatants to become volatile. But the part that we really care about is this. Defeating volatile targets creates a void breach. This last part is what makes this build work even better, because if you pair this with Echo of Starvation, which says picking up an orb of power, or a void breach grants Devour. These two fragments work very well with each other, because not only will you be getting Devour constantly, you will also be getting an overshield from void breaches. And I think that is amazing, because it lets you survive in stupidly insane scenarios. scenarios. There are a couple more that you might consider for this build. One of them is Echo of Undermining, which says your void grenades weaken targets, which is really good for GMs and similar content where you need to take out a big target. But the biggest downside of this is that it costs you 20 discipline, so that's for you to decide if you really think that's worth it. And the other one is Echo of Exchange, which reads melee final blows grant grenade energy, which in theory is pretty awesome, right? But let's not forget that shield throw will hit 2 or 3 targets and probably not even kill them in higher tier content. And if you choose shield bash, you will be targeting only one enemy, which is really not worth it because it returns from 7 to 25% of grenade energy. But if you're playing just a regular season activity on standard power level and don't even think about master or grandmaster stuff, this might work for you when you have your shield throw on. Now let's go over the mods on your armor pieces. For your helmet, go for double ashes to assets, but if you think you don't need that much super energy, just slap on a heavy ammo finder for obvious reasons. I like going single ashes to assets because I get my super back in 20 or 30 seconds anyway, so I do not think I really need more. For your gauntlets, I would go for a single firepower with something like momentum transfer because your grenade uptime will literally be 100% if you use it correctly, so generating loads of orbs is never a bad idea. Next, for chest armor, as I say in every build video, you will never go wrong with double elemental resistances like void and solar with concussive dampener, of course. Don't forget to switch solar to void or solar to arc if the content requires it. Now the last two pieces are personal preference. If you feel like you really need surges, go for surges, but I feel like you really don't, because having your abilities is a little bit more preferable for this build. So for my legs, I went with absolution, orbs of restoration, and innervation. And since we're getting loads of orbs with our grenades and weapon, if you have attrition orbs that is, these 3 mods will help you a ton because each of them gives you back ability energy. For example, if you fail to absorb a lot of damage with your Unbreakable, just from a single orb pickup, you will get 25% of grenade energy back, and that is just huge. Since my personal preference does not include surges, I had to use special finisher for my class item because I do not want to let all those orbs go to waste. Since we have Echo of Cessation, a decent idea would be to equip Proximity Ward, which gives you an insane overshield when doing a finisher. And the last one, of course, is Powerful Attraction, which collects all nearby orbs of power on class ability cast, so this just simply makes things a little easier. And the last part is seasonal artifact mods, which of course will go way after this episode, but let's have some more fun while we still can. Make sure you grab Volatile Marksman to get volatile rounds constantly, Elemental Siphon to generate even more void breaches if by accident you don't get enough, Maligned Harvest, which will make your enemies weakened, so that is an insane addition to this whole setup because not only are your enemies going to be volatile, now they're going to be weakened too. If you're running a rocket launcher or a machine gun in your heavy slot, make sure to have heavy ordnance regeneration, which will help you survive even more. Void Flux, which ties into our build perfectly since you will be getting everything volatile even more with this mod. Now to be honest, that's kind of it with the Void build. It's not too deep, it works very well, but let me tell you a little bit about the other variation of the build. I thought to myself, why not make it prismatic? For that, I got myself Spirit of the Bear with Spirit of Verity roll. Spirit of the Bear is basically Ursa Furiosa, but without any advantages to your super. And Verity makes your grenades do extra damage if you did some prior super matching kills. Oh, and the extra damage is actually very juicy. The gameplay loop is similar to the original build, the only thing is now you can have a powerful melee to get you radiant as well. I of course chose Unbreakable as one of my aspects, and the other one is personal preference, but I felt like Consecration gives you the most upsides from fragments and itself. The super I chose is Twilight Arsenal to simply match Unbreakable and my void weapons. Now let's quickly go through fragments to make sure you understand why this is a very good alternative to the original build. Facet of Protection, it will give you 15% damage reduction when surrounded and 32% when transcendent. It's basically a must in almost any prismatic build. Facet of Dawn, this will give you Radiant from doing your Consecration, and how you use Radiant is up to you, but all I'm saying, the damage buff applies to everything. Yes, grenade too. Facet of Bravery, this is basically a fragment from Void subclass which ties very well into this. It will make your guns get volatile after a grenade kill. Facet of Blessing, you will get pretty good health regeneration when you do your Consecration. That is exactly why I chose that aspect, because the utility it provides in different scenarios is pretty damn good. Because if you're not using your Unbreakable, you can use Consecration and get all the other benefits. Because in my opinion, Shield Throw and Shield Bash are kind of mid on Void subclass. Don't tell Bungie though. Or actually, no, do tell Bungie. They need to do something about this. Facet of Mending. This is my personal favorite for this build. Grenade final blows cure you. What more could you want from this? Absolutely perfect fragment to use with Unbreakable. I just love it. And Facet of Dominance, the most important part for us here is your Void Grenades weaken targets. It's basically Echo of Undermining but for Prismatic, and you lose 10 less discipline from this, so it's really worth using it. With every Unbreakable use, you will be weakening your enemies, but since your grenade uptime is almost 100% with correct usage, this fragment is fighting with Facet of Mending for the gold medal on this build, honestly. For this build I also use Barrow Dyad with my VS Velocity Baton because Facet of Bravery, which not only gives volatile to void weapons but also unraveling rounds to our strand weapons. In my opinion, the second build is definitely way more fun, but the first one provides way better utility for your team, so now you can make a choice between these two builds. I honestly love them both equally. They're really fun and bring out different part of the game that Titans have been missing for a while. And somebody had to make this video to show that you don't really need to have Inmost with Synthocep's class item to have fun. So, what do you think? Will you try one of these builds? If so, let me know down in the comments if you liked it. If you did, drop a like, consider subscribing, it's free anyway. I'll see you next time.